Now, how much time did you spend up in Seattle, and how well did you and Loudon sort of kind of perfect the recipe that you guys were cooking up there?
It rained a lot, and people told me, oh, you're not gonna like it because it rains every day. And honestly, I like the rain. I didn't mind the rain, but then it got cold. And they didn't tell me it was gonna get cold. And then I'm talking about cold, like freezing, like 30 degrees. And I was like, oh, this is not cracking. I didn't have a car. I didn't have shit. So I'm taking the bus to work. And it was just, and I was also just really depressed at the time. I didn't really make friends up there when I went up there. I had my coworkers and that was cool, but I didn't really make any genuine connections up there with anybody. So I felt like I was really isolated. My brother was a little bit younger than me at the time, so he was finishing high school, like on this continuation school. So he had like friends from school, but I didn't really have the same experience. And I was just going through a lot of internal shit, and I was just miserable there. And so I went back to LA, and then I was in LA for a year. But then my other brother was gonna get out of juvenile hall after he was in there for 3 years. And so he was now gonna move to Seattle. So I moved back there because I wanted to support my brother, him now, you know. And so then I was there. But I didn't live with them at the time though. I had my own spot. So yeah, I was up there on and off basically I was up there for 2 years. I always tell people I was up there for 2 years, because then I ended up going back home because I was getting shows and a lot of things I was missing out on being up there. Like when I got booked for a show in LA, they would have to fly me out, and then it would be like that's part of the money that I would have got in my pocket. I'm missing out on doing all these interviews. I'm missing out on doing all these things that you have to be in LA. You know, you have to be here if you want to be in the entertainment industry. So I decided that I had to move back home, and I felt really bad. I kind of felt like I abandoned my family, honestly. For a while, I did feel like that. And even this day, I guess I did abandon them, but I felt like I had to live my own life. I felt like I tried to support my brothers as much as I could, but I also felt like I can't give my life to somebody else. If they're gonna change, they're gonna change. And if they're not, they're not. And I can't. And I also figured, like, if I do this and I start making a name for myself, I'm gonna eventually be able to be that good influence and provide for my family. So I made that sacrifice to turn around and do that, which I'm glad I did it. That's what had to be done.
When you decide to come back to LA to focus on your music, I'm assuming that your brother Loudon is also wants to come to LA because he's starting to produce for you. Mm-hmm. So you guys just left your mom and your other brother behind.
No, but Loudon didn't come with me when I left. I went by myself. And he stayed up there for a couple more years, like I don't remember the exact timeline, but I think it was about 2-3 years more that he stayed up there, maybe 2 years. But then he decided that he wanted to come back to LA because he felt like he wanted to pursue the music too. So he came back, and we were both staying with our grandmas at the time. I was staying with one grandma and he was staying with the other grandma. And the grandma that he was staying at, she has a basement, and we ended up like gutting the basement and making it our studio and our workspace. But I'm not talking about like a studio, like a nice studio. Like I'm talking about, it had roaches and mice and potato bugs, and it was disgusting. And we wouldn't like to bring people there. People would always be like, oh, let's go to your studio and kick it and record. I'm like, no, we can't go there. Sorry, my grandma doesn't let me bring people. It was always a lie. Like, I didn't want anybody to see it. It was so embarrassing. Like, it was bad. And we were there for a few years working out of there. And I was already touring in Europe, and I was already like had a lot of fans, getting millions of views, and I was still broke as fuck, living at my grandma's house and with my 10-year-old car, and my brother was, you know, we were in the basement. And I remember it was a really kind of conflicting situation sometimes because people thought that I was more successful than I really was. And that's like how I said in the beginning of the interview, people get caught up with stats on Spotify and YouTube, but just because someone has Instagram likes, it doesn't mean that they have any money in the bank, you know? And so it was kind of hard for me I remember around that time I was just like really confused, and I was just thinking like, how am I gonna make this work? What is gonna bring me to that next level, you know? And that's when I really started stepping into my merchandise game. And also that's when I started booking my own tours, because nobody was booking me on tours. Actually, this was a little bit before I started touring in Europe. Nobody would book me for tours, and I would always think to myself, like, why don't people book me for tours? I'm so dope. I see all these other whack artists going on tour, and I thought they were whack. This is when I still felt entitled, and when I thought that because you were dope and had dope lyrics that you should get paid for that, because I didn't know anything about making money in the industry. So anyways, I realized nobody was gonna book me for tours, and so I started doing my own tours and doing my own shows as well. I was doing shows in backyards, I was doing shows in ballet studios, quinceañera halls, lodges, anywhere where people would let me throw a show, I would throw it. And I'm talking about, I was the promoter. That means I brought the music system, I brought the DJ, I booked the acts, I made the flyer, I paid the people at the door to let people in and everything. I was running the entire show. And then not to mention I was gonna perform at the end of the night, you know? And so I was doing I've been doing the jobs of so many people, and I felt like, I feel like that's really what has always elevated me faster than other artists, because I'm just so hands-on and I really don't depend on anybody to get anything done. I learned how to do everything. So anyways, point being, that's how I started making money as well, by throwing my own shows. And also I got ripped off by promoters a bunch of times and by investors of my merchandise. And so I quickly started learning, like, wait a minute, these people are fucking me, you know?
Thanks for watching StreetTV.net. If you're not subscribed, please hit that button below and click the bell to receive alerts and notifications. Feel free to comment below so you can give us your feedback, and be sure to watch the 2 related episodes to the right. If you want to support this platform or follow us on social media, visit the links in the description, and thanks for watching StreetTV.net.